Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we are talking about how major Nintendo Switch 2 news could be dropping sooner than you think. So we already know that the Nintendo Switch 2 is being called the Nintendo Switch 2. It has officially been revealed. Nintendo put out their first look trailer for the console on January 16th, and they've also promised to us that on April 2nd there will be a Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, where we will surely learn a lot more about the console and its games. But between now and then, I'm recording this on February 2nd, we still have 2 months before that point in time. Could we be learning anything else major about the console? Will Nintendo give us any sort of official details about the Switch 2 before that point? And could there be any other legitimate major leaks that also tell us about the console between now and then? Well, considering everything, I think there's a few different avenues where we may very well learn a lot more about the Switch 2 situation before April 2nd, and that's what I want to get into today. But before going forward, let me point out that I am aiming to reach 50,000 subscribers by the time the Switch 2 launches. So if you find yourself enjoying my content, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe and hit that notification bell. So I'm going at this from two different perspectives here. One angle being Nintendo themselves telling us more about the console before April 2nd, and the other having to do with major leaks that we can maybe anticipate, and I think there is something to that, which we'll be getting into later on in the video. I'm going to be focusing on Nintendo telling us more first. And for those who might be wondering, well, what about rumors? Well, rumors come and go all the time. I'm sure there will be more, but what I'm getting at here are things that may come out between now and April 2nd where we will know more about the console, for sure, with nearly 100% certainty, if not total 100% certainty. So, in terms of Nintendo telling us more, there's a few possibilities here. As President Shunto Furukawa has indicated to us in the past, Nintendo will be telling us more and more about the console in phases. And so, early May last year, Nintendo confirmed the existence of the Switch 2, the successor, and told us we would be getting more information, an official announcement, by the end of the fiscal year. And so we waited all the way until November of last year, where they confirmed some form of backwards compatibility and the transferal of Nintendo accounts. And then on January 16th, we got the first look trailer where they showed off the console, confirmed all the leaks, showed off a little bit of Mario Kart, talked a little bit more about backwards compatibility, how it's pretty much as great as we could have possibly have imagined backwards compatibility would be, digital and physical, with Nintendo accounts going over. And they talked about the Switch 2 experience, events, and the Direct happening on April 2nd. And so I go over this chain of events here because I want to point something out. When we had the fiscal earnings release and the mid-year earnings release, Nintendo told us more about the Switch 2, and in a couple days we're going to see Nintendo's next quarterly results. Could it be the case that we might learn something here? I think there is indeed a chance, but I don't know if it's a very strong chance. This is just a quarterly release. It's not a mid-year earnings release. It's not the full fiscal year earnings release. So it's less likely that Nintendo is going to tell us anything more about the Switch 2 on this occasion. However, because Nintendo has already officially revealed the console and given us a proper trailer and given us our first look, I do think that opens the door a little bit for us to learn a little bit more. Now, what might that little bit more be? Perhaps confirmation of a cross-generation title or two. You see, in this month of February, while we do know the Switch 2 Direct is coming in April, there's still an expectation by many, myself included, that we are going to see some type of Switch 1 presentation, a Switch 1 Direct. Will it be a general, a mini, a partner showcase? There's a debate to be had there, but it is still expected that some kind of Direct about Switch 1 will happen this month. It's been reported, there's a long history of it, and there is a need because we don't know about much games for Switch 1 from Nintendo's side of things outside of Xenoblade Chronicles X. We need to learn about more titles and confirm dates throughout the year. And so even if it ends up being a Twitter Direct where Nintendo just makes a few different social media announcements, there is still going to be, at least at some point, a conversation and a focus on some more Switch 1 games, and if this conversation or series of announcements happens around this quarterly results, perhaps there could be an announcement pertaining to a cross-generation title or two. If we're talking about Switch 1 games, maybe they will tell us about these Switch 1 games having some level of increased support on Switch 2. And the games I have in mind are games that are already announced: Metroid Prime 4 Beyond and Pokemon Legends ZA, and maybe even Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. Could Nintendo confirm some sort of enhanced versions of these games on Switch 2? And if there are any other surprise announcements, those could potentially also have an enhanced version, as well as some popular prior titles like Breath of the Wild, for example, which reportedly there was a tech demo of running on Switch 2 at 4K 60 frames per second with virtually no load time. So there may be a plan here to do something like this. And in regards to Pokemon Legends ZA, we've actually recently heard from the Terra Leaker that there is a version of Legends ZA that has something to do with Switch 2. Will it come out to market? We shall see, but there is some evidence there. And I find this situation to be an interesting talking point, not only because I would like to see these games improved on Switch 2, but also because there's a little bit of a precedent. Going into the big showcase for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild back at E3 2016, Nintendo confirmed that Breath of the Wild would also be coming to the Nintendo NX, which we now know is the Nintendo Switch. And so could we get some sort of showcase for a potential cross-generation title this month where Nintendo might confirm that there is going to be a Switch 2 version? Like, what if, for example, we learn a lot about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond in this month in a Nintendo Direct, and they also confirm that, hey, yeah, Prime 4 is going to have an improved Switch 2 version. They might do that now, since Nintendo has already opened the door somewhat and confirmed the existence of the console, including backwards compatibility and its name. And I think there's an even higher chance of this if Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is somehow a launch title. It is rumored, although with Mario Kart being shown off for the console early on, I think there's definitely a debate to be had there. But the point is, it's a possibility, and Nintendo might make some sort of announcement about this in this month. Now, I'm not predicting this, right? I'm simply discussing different possibilities here. But something else interesting that might happen if we do have a Direct this month is that we might see an interesting change in wording regarding the announcement of a Direct. So a lot of you may be aware that over the last 9 months or so, every time there's been some sort of Nintendo Direct presentation, Nintendo has had to say something along the lines of, there will be no word or details on the Nintendo Switch successor during this presentation. But now that we've already gotten the first look trailer, that initial reveal, when they announce another Nintendo Direct, are they going to use that wording again? Probably not. They're not going to refer to it as the Nintendo Switch successor, but probably Nintendo Switch 2. They might still mention it as a successor to the Switch 1, but they will at least have a new wording where they will literally name the console Switch 2. But there's the other possibility that they may not have any sort of qualifier there, and they just may simply say, hey, tune in on such and such date for a Nintendo Direct focused on Switch 1 titles. And if they say something like that, that's going to be a very interesting moment, because when they say focused, that also implies that while there is a focus, that doesn't mean 100% of the announcements will only be about Switch 1. And so with a Nintendo Direct focus on Switch 1 this month of February, we may still get some serious hints, if not even official news, during these presentations about Switch 2. Now, I'm not saying this will happen, but when Nintendo makes the announcement for this Direct that we believe will happen, I think we should pay attention to the wording, because there could be a pretty big hint there. Now, something else interesting that's going on is that next week, next Sunday, a week from now, is going to be the Super Bowl. And going back to 2017, for the Super Bowl, there was a Nintendo Switch commercial. Could Nintendo do something like that again this time? And in there, we might learn a little bit more about the console. Is that possible? I think it's very unlikely. But since they've done it before, it's at least worthy of conversation, right? Now, the reason why I think it's unlikely, though, is that yes, Nintendo has finally unveiled the console. They have given us that first look. This first look is lesser compared to the Nintendo Switch 1's first look, and on top of that, the Switch 1 had its big blow-up presentation where all the details were revealed in January of that year. That presentation, the equivalent, isn't happening until April of this year. So there's still a lot that's been kept under wraps about Switch 2 by this point. And so for that reason, I'm not sure how much Nintendo can even reasonably show off in a commercial about the console. And it should also be mentioned that Super Bowl commercials are extremely expensive. Nintendo has such a great presence right now. The Nintendo brand is so strong and word of mouth is so great now compared to way back then, that they might not even really need to invest so much money in a commercial, because simply by putting out a reveal trailer on their YouTube channel, they're already going to get incredible viewership. So it might not even be worth it. But let me entertain a possibility here. What if Nintendo still does have a Super Bowl commercial about Switch 2, but it's a little bit more limited, a little bit more cryptic? Because they haven't shown us that much about the console, but maybe they could put something in there, not even a 30-second spot, but maybe like a 10-15-second spot, if that's even possible, where they show even less. Maybe they show a brief look at the console and that same Mario Kart footage, or maybe even a little bit more Mario Kart footage. Or what if they do something crazy, and this is completely unexpected, but what if they give us like a 2-second look at 3D Mario on the console? Probably not going to happen, but if they did something like that, it would certainly cause a great deal of conversation. But because Nintendo has not really revealed anything about the console yet beyond just how it looks and 5 seconds of Mario Kart, and because it's also really expensive and Nintendo might not need it, I think it's pretty unlikely. But what I do think is likely though, in terms of us learning more about Switch 2 in a pretty significant way, is from the leaks department. Now, perhaps the user Next Handheld who showed us footage of the Switch 2 before its official reveal may tell us more. That is a possibility. And perhaps we might learn more from the Pokemon Terra leak as well. These are possibilities. But it's also entirely possible we've already learned everything there is to learn from these particular leakers when it has to do with Switch 2. As of late, things have dried up a fair bit. But thinking on how things might go leading up to April 2nd, I actually think, and I'm going to go as far as to predict, that there will be some significant leaks coming from marketing materials for the console. So what I'm getting at here is that we're going to probably learn about some games, maybe like some advertisement materials going to get out there, or perhaps for playable events that are being put together. I wouldn't be surprised if some pictures are taken secretively and they are put out there into the internet for us to analyze. Like, what if there's a booth that has 3D Mario Kart? Someone might take a picture of that and we might see like one frame or like a corner of a frame, and we're going to analyze it to Kingdom Come. Like, I do think something like this is going to happen. Maybe we don't see footage, maybe we just see advertisement material, but I think something like this is likely to happen maybe in the month of March. And so if we're actually going to get photos here from vendors or playable events, then these photos will likely be more than enough evidence to believe these leaks. Likely more believable than the photo leaks we got from Next Handheld, where they used AI to obscure the background. I think it's going to be a little bit more easy to trust than that. But even if somehow we don't learn anything new about the Switch 2 by April 2nd, which I think is unlikely, on April 2nd, which is only 2 months away, we're going to have this megaton of a presentation. But what do you all think? Will we be learning anything more about the Switch 2 between now and April 2nd? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.